Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Mishnah Yomi continues for the 16th of Tevet, and we are in the 17th parak of Shabbat, Kol HaKelim, all about Muksa. We are in Mishnah Het. Kol Kisuye Kelim, any lids for the handle, Lashon Kisui, like a covering, like Kisui Arosh, the head covering that we're famous for. Sheyesh Lahem Beit Achiza, so any of these lids that have a Beit Achiza, a house of holding, meaning a handle, that's where you hold it. Nitalin b'Shabbat. So all of those lids may be handled on Shabbat. Now that may sound pretty obvious because as we learned the first Mishnah in the parak, the door of a kli is like part of the kli. So why isn't the lid of a kli also like a kli? So the Mishnah actually brings up an issue that explains this. Amar Rabbi Yossi, b'mei dvarim morim. When does this apply? That a handle with a lid with a handle is able to be moved on Shabbat? The kisui karka, that's a lid for something in the ground. Now keep in mind, you could have a kli in the ground, such as ovens were frequently built out of stones or bricks into the ground. Basically, the oven is on the ground, it's kind of attached to the ground. The famous machlokis about the tanur shel ochnoi with Rabbi Eliezer and the sages and all the miracles that took place, that was about such an oven that was attached to the ground. There's another kind of kli attached to the ground. It's a bor or a dut. A bor is like a hole in the ground for water or for storage. A dut is like a brick-lined cavity in the ground, and it's typically used for water storage, and you put a lid on it, and it's dus in Ashkenazi. So if someone says, vas is dus, so you know what a dus is, it's this hole in the ground lined with bricks for water storage. So Rabbi Yossi is pointing out that the din of the Mishnah, that you need a handle, you need this Beit Achiza to be able to handle the lid on Shabbos. That's only for a lid for something that's in the ground. Aval b'kisuye kelim, a lid for a regular normal kli, like your pots and your pans and such. Bein kach nitalin b'Shabbat. Whether or not it has a handle, it could still be used on Shabbat. So if your lid to your pot doesn't even have a handle, it could still be used on Shabbat. It's part of the kli. Great. Let's go on to Perik Yud Ches, Perik Chai, Mishnah Aleph. Mifanin afilu arba v'chamesh kupot shel teven v'shel tvua. So we may clear out, we can do pinui, clearing out, even 5 baskets or bundles of straw or of grain. Why? Mipnei ha'orchin, because you have guests coming, you need to clear out the room, or you need a bigger room, so you're using sort of the shed or the storage or the barn. Mipnei bittul beis medrash, or your beis medrash was full and you need to have overflow seating in the barn or in the hay storage, so you can clear them out. Aval lo et otzar, but you can't clear out the storeroom entirely. So the Gemara explains actually 4 or 5 is lavdavka, even more than 4 or 5, but the rule is you can't clear it down to the floor, because if you get down to the floor, it's typically a dirt floor, you might come to sweep it or level it or try to make it look nice in a way that would do a malacha on Shabbos, and we don't want you doing that, so we leave some straw or some grain on the floor, but we do clear out room for guests to stay or have a suda, or for a similar mitzvah, or for people to get together and learn Torah on Shabbos. Now the Mishnah continues about certain things that we might have thought are muksa, but they're actually not muksa and can also be cleared out on Shabbat. Mefanin truma tahara, you can clear out truma, that's the portion given to the Kohen, as long as it's tahor, as long as it's pure and he can eat it. If it's truma tameya, as we learned, he has to burn it. We talked about it in Trumot. Demai, we had a whole book about, the whole sefer, whole Masechet about demai, and that's basically it's produce that has a suffix, a doubtful obligation of tithing, because most of the Amaretz did take tithes, but some didn't, so we would take some of the tithes out of doubt. Meiser Rishon, and the first tithe should nitla trumato, that they had taken the truma. The Bartner here explains that the Levi went ahead and took his Meiser Rishon while it was still in shibolim. It was still sheaves of grain. It hadn't been finished the processing yet and smoothed over, which is the step at which it's liable in truma, that he would have to take truma. So he sort of jumped the gun and did the Meiser Rishon first. As long as he's taken trumas Meiser, he could still eat it. Meiser Sheni, v'hekdesh niftu, and the Meiser Sheni, we had a Masechet about that. And hekdesh, holy items, consecrated items that sheniftu, both of these were redeemed, then they can be eaten and they're not muksa on Shabbos. V'haturmus, this is some sort of legume, hayavesh, when it's dried out, because poorer people would eat the dried out turmus. If it's not dried out, no one can eat it. Avolo et a tevil, But tevel, no. Tevel is food where you've not yet separated the tithes, so it's inedible. It's inedible for halachic reasons. V'lo meiser rishon shelo nit l'trumato, and not the first tithe where the Levi did not take trumas meiser. V'lo et meiser sheni v'hekdesh shelo niftu, and if he has meiser sheni or hekdesh that has not been redeemed, you can't touch it. You can't clear it out because it's muksa. No one can eat it. On Shabbos, they'd have to wait till after Shabbos and redeem it. V'lo et aluf, v'lo et chardel. So not the loof, which is some sort of onion plant, and not the chardel, which is mustard seeds, because these are items that need to be processed in a malacha dika manner to be eating them on Shabbos. So you have to grind the mustard seed. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel matir beloof. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel allows loof, this onion. Why? It is food for the ravens. And the Mefarshim explained that the wealthy people kept ravens as pets to entertain them. And this being Baltimore, we can understand that concept. So the next time someone's going to Ravens game, you should find some loof and give them some loof so they can feed the players during the halftime. Shkoyach Rabosai, Zai gesund.